Last month I spent a couple of days in Luxembourg, one of Britain's rivals when it comes to where global financial firms want to establish their European headquarters. The country's finance minister and professional advisory firms spelt out the reasons why they thought businesses should invest there. Not secrecy, which has long fallen to European Union transparency requirements. Not tax. Some taxes are actually quite high. The answer was stability. Invest in Luxembourg, they say, and you know exactly how your business will be taxed and regulated next year, 5 years, and in 10 years' time. What's more, if there's an election and the government changes, you won't notice the difference. That is not the perception of business in Britain. Whatever the merits of Labour's talk of intervening to fix energy prices, forcibly breaking up the banks and reverting to a 50p tax rate, measures like that would greatly affect the profitability of any firm. Investing in Britain brings many unknowns. Not many of us would fix our interest rate knowing that imponderable political factors a year or two off might double or treble outgoings. In 1997, the certainty promised by Gordon Brown and Tony Blair over the next 5 years reassured business skeptics. Few corporate leaders will want to alienate their potential political masters, but continuity and predictability are the key preconditions for productive investment. Like many people living and working in Britain today, I'm the grandson of a man who, like many others, travelled from this country to fight for Britain in the Boer War. Many of them and their descendants served under the Union Jack in 2 world wars and maintained a close association with the United Kingdom throughout their lives, making a huge contribution to business and British society. A lot of FTSE companies, government departments and institutions are still led by Australians, New Zealanders, South Africans and Canadians with an emotional commitment to Britain as well as the country of their birth. But the treatment of Commonwealth visitors, particularly young people wishing to work in the country with which their home history is intertwined, is shabby and mean-spirited. It's also self-defeating. People who live here like that make a huge contribution to the economy and rarely become dependent on the state. It is disgraceful that the number of visas issued to South Africans has been reduced by 90%, and tragic that the number of Australians and New Zealanders arriving here to work has been halved. If today's migration policies had been in place 30 or 40 years ago, Britain would have been deprived of many of its most distinguished law lords, vice-chancellors, scientists, business and military leaders. Britain has a natural affinity with the Anglosphere states, and the movement of people for work and study benefits our economies, promotes trade and boosts diplomatic links. For centuries, Britain's strength has been based on its position as an open trading nation. It is worrying that the United Kingdom is shutting out people from the Commonwealth who want to work here. As the Scottish referendum draws closer, it's fascinating to think of the what-ifs if voters choose independence. If there is a yes vote, Scotland will move towards independence in 2016. But the country's full quota of 59 members of Parliament will still be elected at the 2015 general election. The vast majority of those seats will be won by the Labour Party. Supposing Labour wins with a majority of, say, 40, the Scottish MPs who provide that majority will all lose their seats as soon as independence arrives, meaning that the Conservatives will be back in power. Constitutional lawyers will have a field day, given that any government holding office on such a technicality and waiting for its majority to evaporate is unlikely to command much moral authority. It was bad luck that Mark Harper, by general consent a conscientious immigration minister, felt obliged to resign when it was discovered that his own cleaner was working in Britain illegally. Rather than snorting with derision at the failings of politicians, one can see a different lesson here. It can be difficult to establish the legality of someone's working or living arrangements. It is not their job to enforce immigration laws, and penalizing them when they get it wrong is oppressive. And the same can be said of business.